for, I think since June, it always started charting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just you can see on the graph, it just shoots straight up and it actually opens. All right, so we're back, and Jake, for people who don't know you, the reason people might have heard of you recently is Skulls of the Shogun. We're gonna get in depth into it here in a minute, but why don't you give the quick, your quick elevator pitch for Skulls of the Shogun? You've probably given about 200-300 times over the last
I'm getting
couple
pretty good at
months.
this.
Yeah.
So it's a turn-based strategy game, but we've decided to quit calling it that because the big publishers are not understanding the fact that it's very different than traditional turn-based strategy games. So it's an action strategy game now.
Nice. I
Yeah.
like
Action
that.
strategy. All right.
Action strategy.
Capital on the action.
Lots of action. It actually is very active. It's
The Edge preview said that, like, arcadey. It said
it's
Advance
really
Wars with arcadey.
it's like reassembled sort of with an arcade feel, and that's basically been my goal the whole time. Like when I play Advance Wars and Fire Emblem and Shining Force, all these things, I love the combat in these games, but I hate wading through menus, and I hate equipping stuff in submenus, and I hate like clicking around through the submenu of the submenu and equipping something else and deciding to turn north and confirming to that. And I love the combat, and I love the fast-paced strategic combat of the best elements of these games. And I decided to sort of create a game based completely around that.
And then the aesthetic is also something that...
The aesthetic is also, I've been a concept artist in games for a long time, and I've done a lot of sort of high-end sort of sci-fi stuff and kind of the real, mature, serious-looking game work. And I kind of wanted to get away from that as far as possible and go back to my roots as a 2D animator and do something that was very stylized and something that would stand out. I mean, when you look at strategy games of any kind, really, you've got, past military, modern military, future military, or orcs and elves. Like, that's kind of what you get for the most part, And so I wanted to do something that would stand on its own visually and, something that would really set itself apart when people would look at it and would have an identity. I mean, as a visual designer, that's sort of my job, is to create something that, is going to stand out and people are going to look at it and be like, oh, that's that game.
And it's basically like the 60s anime, like Japanese 60s.
Yeah, I really am a
cartoons.
huge fan of Japanines anime. I lived in Japan for about 5 years altogether, and I got really big into sort of 60s anime. It turns out before Disney... Well, not before Disney, but before the Atom, Astro Boy stuff kind of came by, and the really sort of limited, cheap TV animation. Japanese film animation used to be really big budget. I mean, it used to be like really competitive with Disney stuff. I mean, like full productions, very expensive, very beautiful artwork. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that stuff sort of kind of got left by the wayside when they sort of went towards streamlining costs and sort of doing it a lot more simplified. The traditional anime thing that you think of as like the very cheaply produced, single frame being kind of pulled across. Like back in the day, it was more like Bambi or something, like Snow White. I mean, it was very full-blown animation, very, very beautiful work.
It wasn't that long. I mean, Akira and that sort of stuff.
Well, Akira is sort of different.
80s
Akira's, yeah. I mean, I'm talking about the stuff sort of in the mid to late 60s.
But it's not Speed Racer, right? Then it went to shit.
Yeah,
right.
that was kind of like right after that.
Right,
yeah,
right,
the earlier stuff. But, an interesting side note, the one of the things that really got me into this was when